Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about interest. And interest is really important, especially when you get older, because interest is something that banks are going to charge you when you borrow money. So the first sentence is so true. It says money is not free to borrow. It costs money to borrow money. Okay, so when you want to buy a house or a car or something that's really expensive and you can't quite afford it right away, you're going to have to take out a loan from a bank. And the way that the banks make money on this is that they loan you, say, $10,000. Well, you're not just going to pay them back $10,000 because they wouldn't make any money off of that, right? They would just loan out money just to get back the same amount. What they do is they charge you interest, which is the amount collected or paid for the use of money. Okay, and the interest is going to mean that you're going to owe them more. So instead of owing them $10,000, depending on what rate they charge you can end up owing more than $10,000. You could end up owing $10,500 or $11,000 or $12,000. It just really depends on what rate they give you. But you're definitely going to be owing them more money than what you borrowed. It's how the banks make money. Okay, so we use the same formula every time to calculate simple interest. So here's our formula. Interest, or I, okay, is equal to P times R times T. And we need to remember this formula, okay? It's not on your formula sheet for the SOL. It's not going to be on a formula sheet for the test. You need to just remember this formula. And it's pretty easy because all you're doing is multiplying. Okay, but just so you know what these letters stand for, P is the principal. It's the amount of money borrowed or deposited. Okay, so it's the amount of money that you start with. It's the original amount. The rate is the interest per year as a decimal. So they're going to tell you an interest rate as like 6% or 10% or some sort of percent, but the important part here is that you have to write it as a decimal, not as the percentage. So we need to know that when we change it from percent to decimal, you're going to either divide by 100 or move that decimal place 2 times. Okay, and I'll show you that when we get to our formula. But remember, decimal. The other thing is that the T stands for time. Okay, how long are you taking to earn this interest or to pay off this interest? Okay, the important part here is that it's in years. Okay, a lot of the time they give you it in months and you have to convert it to years. Okay, only put years into your formula. So the first thing we're going to talk about is different lengths of time and what they would be in years. Okay, so just in case you don't know, there are 12 Sorry, guys. There are 12 months in 1 year. Okay, so if you're looking at months to years, what you can do is take the months and divide by 12, and then you could figure out how many it is in years. So 6 months, 6 divided by 12 is 1/2, right? It's 0.5 in years. 9 months, 9 out of 12 is 3/4 or 0.75 years. 18 months, well, 18 over 12 is 1.5, so it's 1.5 years. 36 months, 36 over 12 is 3 years. Okay, so principal times rate times time is our formula. Principal is our original amount of money. Rate is the interest rate, what percentage, but we're writing it as a decimal. And T stands for time, and we want to use it in years. Okay, pretty simple, right? So let's look at our first example. Jacob deposits $1,500 of his tax refund into an account that earns simple interest. How much interest will his account earn after 6 years at an interest rate of 4%? So the first thing I always do is write my formula. I is equal to PRT. Then I'm going to take my parts and fill them in. Okay, so interest is what we're trying to find. So we're just going to leave that as I. The principal is how much you start with. So that's the 1,500. Okay, so this is my P. R is the rate, which is 4%, but 4% as a decimal, right? We need to move the decimal place 2 places. So you move it 1, 2, it's going to be 0.04. Okay, and then 6 years, it's already in years, so we don't have to worry about that. So here's what it would look like filled in. I is equal to 1,500 times 0.04 times 6. Then all I have to do is multiply these. If you multiply these out, you would get the interest is 360, And so that's my final answer, $360. Okay, and we know this is our final answer because they're looking for interest. Okay, and that's what we solved here. So if you think about like the tax and tip questions or the discount questions or the markup questions, sometimes you just had to solve the proportion, and then sometimes you had to solve it and then add or subtract at the end. With interest, we're going to be adding at the end because you're going to be paying or gaining extra money. But if they ask you for the interest, all you have to do is multiply, and then that's your final answer. If they ask you for the total amount, that's when you're going to have to add. Okay, so I'll show you that in a minute. But here, how much interest? We solved for I, so we were done. Multiplied, $360. Okay, so second question. Sam borrows $2,850 at 4.3% simple interest per year. When Sam pays back the loan 30 months later, what is the total amount that she ends up repaying? Okay, so here we're going to write our formula again. We know our P is the original amount or the principal, so that is $2,850. Our rate is the 4.3%, so we're going to move it twice. So 1, 2, it's going to be 0.043 for our rate. The part that we have to convert also is the 30 months, right? Remember I said I want to put my time in years, so 30 months is not okay. We can't just put 30 into our formula. Okay, so 30 months is 2.5 years. So that's what we're going to use for our T. Okay, so let's see what that looks like filled in. Principal, $2,850 times the rate, which we said was 0.043, times the years, which is 2.5. Okay, so we're going to multiply, and we get I is equal to 306.38. Okay, but this time we weren't looking for just the interest. We want to know what's the total amount that she ends up repaying. Okay, so remember I said at the beginning, if you borrow money, you have to pay back more than what you borrowed. So Sam borrowed this $2,850, but based on her interest, this down here, the $306.38, is the extra money that she has to pay. Okay, so she doesn't just have to pay back this $2,850, she also has to pay back an extra $306. So if you look at what the total amount that she's going to end up repaying, you're going to add, right? Take the original that she borrowed plus the interest, and this is the final amount that she's going to owe the bank. Okay, we don't want 3 decimal places though, right? We want to round it to 2 decimal places since it's money, okay? And here's our final answer, $3,156.38. So think of it like the tax and tip questions. If you see total, you have to add, okay? All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3, Mr. Kim has $410,000 in a retirement account that earns 3.85% interest each year. Find the amount of money he will have in this account after 36 months. Okay, so first, we're going to convert 36 months to years, right? We need to do years for our time. So 36 divided by 12 gives us 3 years. Then I'm going to write down my formula. Okay, remember our original amount is P. 3.85 is our interest, but that really is 0.085. It's our interest rate as a decimal. Okay, so then we're going to multiply. 410,000 times 0.0. Oh, I misspoke, you guys. This should have been a 3. Oh. Sorry, it should be 0.0385. Sorry, guys. Forgot my 3 in here. Okay, back to our equation. So 410,000 times 0.0385 times 3 years. Okay, when we multiply, we get 47,355. Okay, so let's decide if we're done. Find the amount of money he will have in his account. Okay, if he put this amount in his account and he's earning interest, okay, so sometimes interest is a good thing, right? In this case, he's gaining money on his retirement account. It's not something he has to pay back to the bank. He's actually getting that money. Okay, so, but this is not the final amount he's having in his account, and this is not the final amount, right? all the money in his account, you have to add the original and the interest because that's the total amount he's going to have in his account at the end of 3 years. Okay, so we're not quite done. We still have to add. So then we would have $410,000 plus $47,355 to get a total of $457,355. So in this case, the interest was a good thing, right? He earned a bunch of extra money. Okay, last one. If Amisha paid $797.50 in interest on a 5-year loan of $5,800 on her first car, what was the interest rate? So I think you can see right away that this one is different, right? They're telling us the interest, they're telling us the time, and they're telling us the principal. Okay, we don't know the interest rate or R. So when we look at our formula, we're actually filling in different pieces than what we were before. Okay, so let's think about where stuff goes. This is what it's going to look like. This part, the first part, is our interest. So instead of sticking on this side of equation, that $797.50 is the I part of our equation. The principal is still the amount that you took out on the loan or the amount that you put into your account originally, right? So here we're talking about loans, so it's $5,800. Rate is the part that we don't know, so I left it as R because that's what we're trying to find. And then 5 is going to go in for our years, and it's already in years, so we don't have to convert it to anything. So now, instead of just multiplying, okay, we actually have a 2-step equation to solve. So first thing we're going to do is actually multiply the parts that we have on this side of our equation on the right side. So we're going to keep this side the same on the left. But 5,800 times 5 is 29,000 R. And now we want to get R by itself. So what do we have to do? We have to divide by 29,000 to get rid of the 29,000 on that side. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So you're going to divide by 29,000 on both sides. Okay? We'd actually get R by itself on that side. And this side, if we divided, would give us 0.0275. Okay, but we're looking for the interest rate. And so if you notice in the rates, if you look at like this problem is 3.85, okay, percent. It's always a percent. So we need to change this decimal into a percent. So you can move it twice, right, the decimal place, 1, 2. And so our final answer is 2.75%. Okay. There's plenty for you to try on the back, and you're always going to use this formula, okay? I would recommend writing it first. Sometimes you're finding interest, sometimes you're finding the total amount, so you have to add. Okay, if it ever says what's the amount of money in someone's account, that means total, so you're still going to have to add. Sometimes they're going to ask you to find missing pieces, like they'll give you the interest and you have to find one of these, like P or R or T. Okay, make sure that you're filling in the pieces that you have and solving for the ones that you don't have. And please remember, always round to the nearest cent when dealing with money. So that means the hundredths place. We need 2 decimal places. Okay, good luck. Get them checked when you're done.